joined by a very special individual. He is the first and the only cricketer to lead Sri Lanka to an Under-19 Cricket World Cup final when he did it in year 2000. He is a first-class cricketer and of course he is a corporate leader. And I'm happy to welcome Malinta Gajanayaka to the 21st edition of the Sports Centre on TV1. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation, Malinta.
Thanks for receiving me.
Talk to me about in year 2000 you led Sri Lanka to the first ever Under-19 final when we played against India in Colombo, and you ended your first class cricket career in year 2014, and there was a gap of 7 years since the time that you left. We did not have any news about you, what you've been up to.
Well, as you correctly said, I stopped in first class cricket in 2014. Then I moved into my professional career. I moved to the Hilton chain, and I worked there for 7 years. So then after that, I'm currently with the the delegation of German Industry and Commerce in Sri Lanka, which is the responsible authority for bilateral businesses between Sri Lanka and Germany.
Under-19 2000 World Cup in year 2000 was a kind of a biggest achievement when it comes to youth cricket in Sri Lanka. At that point of time, we came close to be the world champions after the senior side had became the world champions in 1996. It would have been an inspiration for you guys to basically go on to participate in that year 2000 Under-19 World Cup. We lost against India. What exactly happened, and can that be considered as a highlight of your career?
Well, definitely yes. That was my lighthouse achievement, I would say, throughout my career. Well, coming back to the Under-19 World Cup, it was in 2000 where the World Cup took place in Sri Lanka. I think, as you correctly said, that's the final only time a Sri Lankan team has reached to a final in a Under-19 World Cup. Well, I think I must say I'm privileged enough. I was privileged enough to captain a side like that, which with so many talented players. Overall, it was a fantastic tournament, a very competitive tournament where a lot of players who represented their respective countries were involved, and also the tournament was well organized. It was in a very competitive manner, and we were playing good cricket as a team. So I would say that that's one of my highlights of my career.
Specifically talking about that Under-19 Cricket World Cup in the year 2000, Sri Lanka scored 178 runs and India were on course for a victory up until the time that you took the wicket of Yuvraj Singh when the score was on 117 runs, and Ritinder Singh Sodhi was the man of the series in that particular tournament, and another Indian player took India home to their title. Can you briefly explain to me about the mindset of the players and what exactly transpired when you guys played the finals?
Well, Martin, I'll go through the tournament. We had a pretty good run right throughout the tournament until the finals. We beat good teams like Australia, England, West Indies, Ireland and Namibia in the group stage. And then we had a fantastic semi-finals beating a strong Pakistan unit. But coming back to the finals, we had played many games at SSC. Since it's our home conditions, but we had a lengthy batting lineup, and Ian Daniels was on a good swing at the top with Muba. Then in the middle order, Khanda was there playing well. Myself, Kaushi, Kaushala Lukwarachi and Veeraratne, they were there. So we as a team, with the guidance of the support staff, the coaches, we thought we can curtail the Indian lineup if we get a good score with our bowling lineup. We had good seam bowlers. We had Prabhat Nissanka there, Akalanka Ganegama, Kaushala Veeraratne as a seam up. Then we had good spinners. So we as a team took a decision, we'll get a good score and then put pressure on the Indian lineup. But unfortunately, the batting didn't click on that day. It was not our day. I would say I'll put it that way. It was not our day, and India had a strong lineup, and Yuvraj came and just took it away from us. But as you correctly said, One after Yuvraj got out, again we thought, okay, we had a chance, but unfortunately Kaif and Sodhi took it home.
Talking about the list of players who played in that particular finals, we had about 7 players who went on to play for Sri Lanka, starting off with Jihan Mubarak, Kaushalya Lukarachi, Kaushalya Veeraratne, Thilina Kandambi, Akalanka Ganegama, and Prabhat Nissanka, and several other players like of Muthumadulige, Pushpakumara. Only 4 people who were not able to play international cricket for Sri Lanka. You were amongst them. Disappointed?
I would say yes, but on the other hand, Martin, I would say we played good cricket. We played quality cricket. I played first class cricket for almost 14-15 years. So I played for Sri Lanka A team for a few years, vice captain the Sri Lanka A team. Anyway, the motivation was to have the Sri Lankan national cap, but we had a very the next step for the national team. We had very limited chances at that time because they were a very strong unit in the national squads. So that was unfortunate, partially disappointed, I would say.
Talking about the list of players from the other countries who took part in that particular tournament, you had the likes of Michael Clarke, Graham Smith, Yuvraj Singh was playing, Ian Bell from England, Marlon Samuels, and several other prominent players who went on to make big strides in international cricket had played as well. When it comes to the players who were able to go on to make that international appearance on behalf of for Sri Lanka from that crop of players who played in that final, they did not have a prolonged career. All of them had short stints, like of Mubarak. Ian Daniels never played in international cricket. Thilina Kandambe was there on and off, but he could not make it either. None of the players were able to have prolonged careers. What do you think is the reason for that?
Well, I would say like players like Michael Clarke, as you correctly said, they ended up playing more than 100 test matches, captaining Australia. Brendan McCullum, who captained the under-19 team, ended up captaining New Zealand, playing more than 100 test matches. Michelle Johnson, Shane Watson, Graham Smith ended up captaining as the South African captain, playing more than 60 test matches. Yuvraj Singh, over 300 one-days. They were given a consistent opportunity in the national squads, grooming with the seniors. I think our batch, I'll call it the batch or our unit, they were not given that consistent opportunity and that confidence to get to the next level. Yes, they got opportunities in few opportunities. Say, I think Muba is the only person who has played more than 30 test matches. So that's the story. That's, I would say, like that team didn't get that confidence or the opportunities from the selectors. I don't want to put it to the players at that time, at that era, but say that's definitely up to the selectors and the management of Sri Lanka cricket at that time to look at the bigger picture. We knew Sangha, Mahela is going and Dilshan is going to step down in couple of years. Then it was our batch who were supposed to get groomed, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
A very good point that you brought up was that Sangakkara, Mahela Jayawardene, maybe Dilshan, even Rangan Herath, Rasalan, and all of them were in that particular age group who were born in and around 1977, 1976. And you guys were born in the 1980s or the 1981s. So ideally, if I kind of relate this particular transition period and grooming players from your batch to international level to the performance of Sri Lanka cricket team after the retirement of Kumar Sangakkara and Mahela Jayawardene after 2015, if you guys were groomed at that point of time or given short stints or had the chance of playing with the Sri Lanka national team, then you would have played after 2015 to 2019 for a period of time. So Sri Lanka wouldn't have had that issue of transitioning and not being able to perform well at the international level.
Let's put it this way, Martin. I'll just give you some facts. Say 95, 96, Arjuna Ranatunga, Aravind Asanga Gurusinghe, Pramod Wickramasinghe, they groomed Sanath Mavan, Vasi, Murali, Upul Chandana, and then they anchored the ship for some time. And then in that period, Sangha, Mahela, Tilan, Avishka, those players were groomed. So then it was our batch which had to have that exposure. If that grooming had continued, I think the current situation, this is my personal view, one might argue, but this is my personal view, saying that the current situation of Sri Lanka cricket may have changed.
One unexpected retirement from a Sri Lankan cricket perspective was the one that Russell Arnold announced in 2007 World Cup. Following the conclusion of the final against Australia, he went ahead and announced his retirement. I'm sure that he kind of knew that he will not be able to play the 2011 World Cup, and then he made the right call at that point of time. And after that, there was a replacement was required, and Jehan Mubarak was given the chance at that particular time after 2007 World Cup, but he could not make it. You spoke about the exposure that the Sri Lankan cricketers or the selectors could have given to your set of players. Some people have gotten it, but from a viewer's perspective, I'm sure the viewers also would agree that they did not show that show to the viewers or the international cricketing fraternity that they could play well as much as Kumar Sangakkara or Mahela Jayawardene could play. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, after Russell hang his boots, I think Jehan was the ideal replacement, I would say, and he has performed well in the domestic tournament as a batsman and in the middle order. And likewise, there were several players who were tested on that. My point is, Martin, like there are some players who needs that kick off some time. Say example, Arjuna Rantunga identified Mavan Athapattu's talent, and he gave that confidence, and he believed in him, saying, okay, we have seen Mavan Athapattu, and he ended up as one of the Sri Lanka's best openers or the best captains. So likewise, there are certain players who needs that confidence from the seniors, and also given that extra time for him to build that his international career. I would say like even Shane Watson, Michael Clarke, also they started pretty slowly, and then after they got that inbuilt confidence playing with the national the seniors, then they end up as they are the best in the latter stage of their careers. So I would say not only Muba, other players including Kandambi and Kaushala Lukwarachi, Kaushala Weerathne, Muthu Pushpakumara, a brilliant all-rounder, Ranil Dhammika. I think for me, he is one of the best left-arm spinners I have ever come across in Sri Lanka. So those players was identified but not groomed. That's my point, Martin. Some players, yes, they adjust, they can adjust. Like players like Mahela Jayawardene, he had that born talent. Aravinda De Silva, they had that born talent to adjust. But certain players, that they need to give that little bit of room, breathing space. That's up to the seniors to have that confidence, give that chance, knowing okay, he will perform, and that didn't happen.
Talking about all those players, the Ranil Dhammikas, Muthu Mudalige, Pushpakumara, Ian Daniels and Jehan Mubarak, we knew all those players as contributors to the team's success in that Under-19 Cricket World Cup. No standout player that I could think of who kind of played a huge role in terms of getting Sri Lanka to the final. There were performances, yes, obviously, but what I saw most with that particular team was playing as a team. I'm sure the viewers also would agree, whoever who watched that 2000 Under-19 World Cup. What was the secret behind you guys playing as a team in that? I did not see any deviation or any issues within those crop of players.
Absolutely. Thanks for that compliment. I was privileged enough to captain such a team, such a talented, such a nice bunch of team players. I would say the success to our coming to the finals or performing well, I won't say coming to the finals, performing as a team is due to a couple of facts. One is the strong school cricket structure what we had, which supported us to give a strong combination of players. Second, I would say the home conditions. We knew our wickets, we knew our venues, we have played there enough and more. And the third one would be our preparation. That I would say we played plenty of selection games to select that first 30-man squad. And then from that 30-man squad, Martin, we played many games to select the final 20. That final 20 was camped at the cricket board for 2 months. I'm being very honest. You can just see from my colleagues. 2 months we were camped. That team, from that we became a family. We knew each other. We knew each other's strengths. We knew each other's what are their game plans, capabilities. So that was supported by, at that time, the administration. They supported, because we not only the players, the coaches, Mr. D.S. De Silva and Mr. Carlton Bernardes were our head coach and assistant coach. They gave us a goal. Okay, our goal is to go and win that World Cup. This is the ideal opportunity, playing at home. And the administration supported us, motivated us, and that goal post didn't change. So I would say, as a team, as you correctly said, it was more of a team contribution. Everyone chipped in. Danny was brilliant in the opening. Muba was there. Kanda chipped in. Kaushala Lukwarachi, Veeratna, they chipped in the middle. Bowlers contributed. So as a captain, my life was easy, because they have played the game. We knew each other, what their strengths are. So execution was pretty much easy.
I'm sure most of the players, people who are watching this particular interview, had they watched the Under-19 Cricket World Cup, would agree with what you said in terms of what you guys displayed in the field. But I never knew that you were camped in the cricket board for about 2 months. Obviously, that must have resulted in terms of you guys creating that particular bond and showing that, relating that exact thing in the field. Talking about your captaincy, you were the first and the only cricketer to lead Sri Lanka to an Under-19 Cricket World Cup final. That was about 21 years ago. Can you briefly explain me what was told to you when you were appointed as the captain of the Under-19 team?
Well, I was selected about when the 20-man squad was named. I was selected as the captain. Then the head coach D.S. De Silva and Carlton Bernardes, hats off to them. They gave me a proper indication which final 15 has to be selected, and they gave me an opportunity to give my views as well. To select one player to the final 15, we had an option of going with a genuine left armer or a left arm all-rounder with who can get us 20-30 runs. We played 5 games to select that player. So we went into detail, and so finally we came up with the best 11, and we did our testing. We wanted Kaushal Veeratna to open. There's the Rashan Mendis, who was the wicket keeper. He was a bit of a pinch hitter. We did our experiments. So at the end, that message what the administration and support staff gave me was, okay, go there, enjoy the game, and also we knew our capabilities, we knew our conditions, so we had a small edge playing home. So it was clear for us, the goal was set and the support was there, so we had only to execute.
Talking about the players who played in that particular tournament, Jehan Mubarak and Tilna Kandambi had prolonged careers in terms of international level. I won't say compared to the rest of the big cricketers that Sri Lanka had produced. What was your mindset when you were appointed as the captain of the Under-19 team about playing in the international arena?
Well, see, Martin, our lighthouse achievement was the 1996 World Cup. I would compare like that 1996 World Cup team and the team I captained in the 2000. I don't know. I have some sort of a similarity, not in terms of the talent, the performance, or the level what they played, but that unity, that the team effort, it was there. So my role model was Arjuna and Arvind. That's simply the records speaks for them. As a captain, I captained the Sri Lanka under 15 team to a World Cup in 1996, where Kanda was also part, Ian Daniels was part of it, Jehan Mubarak was part of it, Ranil Dhammika was part of it. Then I captained the under 17 Sri Lanka team, then the under 23 team, then the development squad. So that whole team, that senior players were with me. We were grooming together from the under 15. So like that 1996 World Cup, we had that some sort of a unity or a home atmosphere with us. Of course, my goal was to be one another, Arjuna, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
In hindsight, what could you have done better?
Well, now I feel I would have played a little bit more cricket. This is my gut feeling when I look at my career and the current situation of Sri Lanka cricket. I would say things would have changed if I had played a little bit more cricket, hanging there. But I thought, okay, that's enough. I played 5-6 years for Sri Lanka A team. Ended up vice captaining the Sri Lanka A team. I thought when I gave up cricket, when I thought of hanging my boots, okay, it's time to give an opportunity for a younger player to play that the length of cricket that he can move to the next level.
Benefit for the viewers rather, we had players like Jehan Mubarak, Tilna Kandambi, and some unfamiliar names at this point of time like Ranil Dhammika and of course Ian Daniels. Ian Daniels played a first class match, I guess, in the year of 2021 after a prolonged time break. And Muthu Mudilage Pushpakumar, we saw Kaushalya Veeraratne playing in the Legends tournament recently. Are you in touch with all these guys who you played with?
Of course, we are in touch. Kanda, Muba and Kaushalya Veeraratne, we all of us, some of them say, example, Ian Daniels is in Australia, Kaushalya Lukuarich is in Australia, Kaushalya Veeraratne is in Australia. So we are scattered, but we are in touch, and I am so much happy for that.
You have a WhatsApp group?
We don't have a WhatsApp group, but we have that connection.
One thing that came to my mind about asking you when you spoke about Jehan Mubarak and Tilna Kandambe, let's talk about Tilna Kandambe first. He was the coach of Jaffna Stallions, winning coach during the concluded Lanka Premier League. In addition to that, Jehan Mubarak was the coach of the Royal College first 11 cricket team as well. And of course, I think he is having a wonderful run, Tilna Kandambe. Now he became the winning coach of the Major League T20 competition, the club tournament as well recently. So 2 trophies under his belt already within a short period of time, even during a pandemic. You think that Tilna Kandambe should be able to go on to coach Sri Lanka in the future?
I think obviously he has the talent and he has the skill, and he has played the game enough and more to coach a national team or a team to do something for the country. I have no doubts with his capability, and also I think he will definitely, he has come up the ladder coaching the school team, and then one ladder up a club team, and then coaching the Lanka Premier League and winning as the winning coach. Definitely he has that potential, and also Muba, I hope he will also come up that ladder and do their best for the country.
You played first class cricket for Sri Lanka and obviously played for the A team as well, and you must have played with a lot of cricketers who represented Sri Lanka at the international stage as well. What do you think as now the focal point that has been discussed at this point of time is the gap that is holding us apart when it comes to international cricket and first class cricket in Sri Lanka? Based on a player who had a kind of 14 to 15 years of first class cricket in Sri Lanka, what do you think as a gap that is holding us apart?
Martin, my view is that it's not rocket science. There's no doubt if you take the talent of our cricketers. See the last test match against West Indies. We had that talent. We have players who can go there on a debut, score 100. So there's no doubt about our talent. But how the individual performance and the support staff take it as a team and on a consistent run is the question mark. I think for that, my view is that the Sri Lankan school cricket, Sri Lankan club cricket structure has to change. We have to concentrate more on quality cricket, not on quantity. Say when we were playing club cricket, we had 8 to 10 games maximum in the tier A, but the tier B was there to feed to two teams coming up. So likewise, we have to look at the quantity, the quality of the club, school cricket and the club cricket, and also we should look at a 4-day provincial tournament, which we played at that time, and which supported to feed the Sri Lankan team on a larger basis. Thilan Samaravira was a player who came through the provincial tournament, who played extremely well. Chintaka Jayasinghe, who played in the Legends recently, he came through the provincial tournaments. Likewise, there are so many players who came through by playing a good provincial team, a good club tournament, reducing the clubs and playing that quality players playing in that club arena will definitely, because there's no doubt about our talent. We have done that in the past, and why not we can put it back in track.
So I believe that the thought process that you have is been kind of echoed by people like Mahela Jayawardene, Aravind De Silva as well, when I had my conversations with them as well first, and of course Siddharth Vettamani, who was the first one to kind of put that thought process on Sports Center on TV1. And of course Sri Lanka appointed the director of cricket in Tom Moody. What he exactly told me during a press conference was Sri Lanka is going through a surviving culture than a thriving culture. During the time that you played first class cricket in Sri Lanka, were you also playing cricket for survival?
I would say no. We played cricket for our passion and the liking for that game. Then only it came as like a semi-professional. It was not professional, but we played as semi-professionals. I would say we didn't. We played tough cricket. We played quality cricket, and then made those achievements.
Let's talk about the financial aspect of first class cricket. I'm not going to talk about what is on offer at this point of time for the current crop of first class cricketers in Sri Lanka, but at the time that you played during the during year 2000 to 2014, was financial benefits that you received when you were playing as a first class cricketer in Sri Lanka attractive back in the days?
Not really, Martin. Like comparing to today's game, it was very minimum. But we enjoyed the cricket because we had that passion and we had that love to the game. It was more of a semi-professional, where all of us had a professional job and then played cricket during the weekend to our clubs. But comparing to today's arena, I would say it's very minimum. But I think now it has come to a stage as a professional game. Now the players has to be paid and they have to be looked after, and I think that is the way forward. And I think that's a good move the Sri Lankan cricket has taken to pay cricketers well and to look after them, look after their health, look after their physique, and I think that's the way forward.
Talking about transparency, right now at this point of time, people are calling for transparency in terms of matters related to Sri Lanka cricket. If I ask you to tell me exactly financially what type of benefits that you received, let's say for about a year playing as a first class cricketer, would you like to tell me what was that about?
Martin, I can't say. I'll tell you per game. We played three-day games, club cricket. So we were paid 1,500 per day, and for a 1 day it was 2,000 rupees. So that's the wage what we got.
There was no any contracts between you and the club where you got any benefits?
No, no. There was no contracts from the clubs. So the Sri Lanka Cricket paid the clubs, and the clubs paid the players.
That's in terms of match fees only. That's about the 2,000 rupees that you spoke about a list day match and 1,500 a day for a test 3-day
3-day
match.
game, yes.
That's all you got. And you had to be a semi-professional for you to play cricket, and then while you work at a corporate as well.
Correct, yes.
So which means that you always had in your back of your mind that look, you know, what I'm making playing cricket is not enough for me to basically survive.
Yes, I would say so. But look, when we were groomed from the under-19s, we knew, okay, cricket is something that can take us to the next level. Not in terms of financial benefits, but as a person, as a passion, who had a passion to play cricket, we thought, okay, this is the next step. So financial was the second view what we had, but the cricket was our main goal.
Even at this point of time, I had a conversation with Aravind De Silva, the head of the technical advisory committee. What he told me was that they are planning on creating a program where they could pay ₹1 million for a first class cricketer in Sri Lanka, so they do not kind of migrate to another country expecting to earn that same amount, compared to what is the state of affairs at this point of time, player earning ₹1 million or proposals being put forward for a player to earn ₹1 million, and what you have earned playing cricket back in the days has a huge gap. Kudos to you guys, I guess, you know, not taking that financial aspect, but you know, you would have had a lot of challenges. Then after retiring from cricket in year 2014, you went to the corporate structure. Did you have to, like, you know, go back to academics and then get yourself upgraded and then move on to corporate world?
No, luckily, Martin, I did my degree in UK on business administration, so I had that qualification. So after hanging my boots, I joined Hilton Residence as the sales manager at that time, and then moved to the current job. So it was a decision that I took, as I mentioned earlier. So yes.
You have any aspiration of involving in cricket administration in the future?
Yes and a no. I would say if things are properly managed and we have a good team, I think now I think luckily we have people like Aravind De Silva, Muralidharan coming into the picture. That's a good sign for Sri Lanka cricket. Yes, of course, why not? A game we have played with so much of love. If there's a contribution needed, definitely my support will be there.
What will be your expertise will be based on, like?
Well, see now, I would say my concentration would be on school cricket or under-19s. That's where I have learned my cricket. Yes, I have played 15 years first class cricket, but I think there's something that I can contribute to the school cricket development or the under-19s for them to give that motivation to go to the next level, or how to cope up in that period where you're there or not. So that contribution, if there's opportunity, definitely my support will be there for Sri Lanka cricket.
As a person who is following cricket, and you kind of, you know, watch my interviews, the ones that I have with the cricketers as well, and you give your comments as well on them, and I guess it's appropriate for me to ask you about your thought process on the current crop of players, especially Pathum Nissanka, who scored a debut century against West Indies, and of course Niroshan Dickwella, who scores runs but doesn't get counted because he scores those 40-50 runs at number 7, just because the openers or the top order batsmen does not score that many runs, that the 60 or 50 odd runs he scores doesn't end up or doesn't get counted when it comes to Test cricket in Sri Lanka. What are your thought process in terms of the current crop of players, and are you excited about the talent that is being showcased?
Talent wise, of course yes. Talent wise, of course yes. But as you correctly put in, managing them is something that the management or the officials has to think of. Discipline of players is something very vital not only for international players but for any individual. So for cricket discipline is very key, very vital when they are playing in the international arena. So I think talent wise there's no doubt, Martin. Sri Lanka, luckily we have this talent, otherwise the situation would have been worse. But then we have players like say Lasith Malinga, which is a pure talent. Kulasekaras, now current team, Pathum Nissanka and them, Avishka Fernando. That's born talent, but that we need to manage them and take him through that channel and discipline them with their cricket and their on and off the field, which will take them to the next level easily with their talent.
During your playing days as a first-class cricketer, were there any spot fixing, match fixing approaches?
Luckily not, Martin. I'm so thankful that there was no such involvement or financially.
Talking about one focal point that has been discussed at this point of time is the domestic cricket structure and then changing the constitution of Sri Lanka cricket. People are not pointing fingers towards any people. It's just that they want this particular constitution to be changed for the betterment of cricket, and they have put forward several clauses and the points as a reason why we need to look at changing the constitution. What are your thought process?
Well, I think that's a good way forward. Looking at the current situation, I think my view is that the club cricket structure, the school cricket structure has to change immediately, and also we had to look at a provincial tournament, a competitive provincial tournament, and also getting the constitution right is also key. I think we are getting there to the right track. I think good news is that a set of professionals, a set of players who have played the game, who know what's in and out of the game, are involved currently. So that's good news for Sri Lanka cricket. With our talent, Martin, I think definitely if the things get in place, I think we should be able to overcome the current challenge, the situation.
You stopped playing first class cricket in the year 2014, and there was a time that people thought about roping you in as a international cricketer in the form of T20, since you are an all-rounder. Now there's always a second chance in life, and that had come in the form of Legends cricket, and we are witnessing some of the greats displaying their game that we kind of witnessed about 15 to 20 years ago again in the field. Have any aspirations about playing in the Legends cricket tournament in the future?
Would love to, Martin, and it was good. It was very nice to see the veterans or the legends who were involved. Players like Kaushal Viratne coming back to the scene. I really liked watching them playing. So if yes, in the future that's another opportunity for us to players who have played cricket with so much of passion to come back.
Thank you very much, Malintha, for accepting my invitation to feature on the show today. It was an insightful conversation, and I hope that all the changes that we spoke about and all the developments that we're expecting in the Sri Lanka cricket takes our cricket forward in the future. One more time, thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin, and all the best for your program.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of the 21st edition of the Sports Center on TV1. Until next week, it's goodbye from all of us here.